Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. May the peace, love, and blessings of Allah be with you. Welcome to Ramadan Transformation, day number 13. Congratulations, you made it. We are almost halfway through Ramadan. Can you believe that? Alhamdulillah. So today we're going to be talking about this concept of Nafs thought. Nafs thought. Now, this is a really important concept. It's actually the basis of a lot of the work I do with people, is getting them to see Nafs thought. And Nafs thought is what shows up. In fact, I'll give you a pretty precise definition of Nafs thought. Nafs thought, or ego-based thought, is all the thought we have that's based on the outside-in illusion. In other words, it's all the thought that we have based on the illusion that something outside of us, something other than thought in the moment, can cause our feelings. The moment you think something other than thought in the moment can cause your feelings, your nafs is going to take over, and it's going to run circles around you all day long, and you won't even know that it's operating. So this is the inside-out paradigm. Basically, thought causes feeling. Thought and feeling, like two sides of the same coin, totally inseparable. But what happens is we go around life pretending to ourselves that that's not true. We go around life pretending that it's this way, pretending that here are our feelings that we live in. And right now, you're experiencing some kind of feeling. That's a feeling. But we pretend to ourselves that the circumstances that we're in cause our feelings. We pretend to ourselves that instead of it just being like this, we pretend to ourselves it's like this. There's all of these circumstances. This C stands for circumstance. Circumstance, 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 all those circumstances together cause our feelings. The circumstances could be in the past, they could be in the present, they could be in the future, and we pretend that those things are what cause our feelings. But the truth is, it doesn't work that way. But what happens when we pretend it works that way? When we pretend it works that way, what happens is we start to get all stressed out and worried about life, worried about, it's like we feel like we have to change and fix the whole world in order for us to feel okay. And the moment we start to believe we need to change and fix all of these circumstances in order for us to feel okay, the moment we believe that, this takes over. The nafs, the ego takes over. So let me give you an example of a situation in my life where that happened. And I didn't realize it was happening. A few years ago, I got divorced, and I was in a relationship. I was really unhappy. She was really unhappy. We're both awesome people. MashaAllah, she's an amazing human being. I feel like I'm a pretty amazing human being too, but we just together, it didn't work out. And so after the divorce, I felt really upset. I felt really guilty. I felt really hurt. And the whole time, I felt like the fact that I was divorced, the fact that I had to tell my parents I was divorced, the fact that all of society would be looking at me as a divorced person from now on, the fact that all of those things, it looked like all of those facts were causing my feeling. The fact that I was now single and didn't know how to handle being single again, all of those circumstances looked like they were causing my feeling of upset and guilt and sadness. And one day I spoke with a coach, a guy called Jamie Smart. And we had a conversation, and in about 20 minutes, I had this amazing insight. Remember, one thought can change your life forever. And I had the thought, hang on a second, none of my negative feeling is coming from the divorce or the relationship or the fact that I'm single or the fact that I have to tell everybody I'm divorced. None of my feeling is coming from that. Actually, my feeling is just coming from my thought. And the moment that happened, my nafs went whoosh. Thought comes from feeling. Thought and feeling are inseparable. When we pretend we can separate thought and feeling, when we pretend our circumstances, our situations, our relationships, our material goods cause our feelings, then we create this illusion of separation. And that's the space within which the nafs exist. All of the thoughts we have that are based on the illusion that something outside of me will cause my feelings, or the situations I'm experiencing are causing my feelings, all of that is where your nafs lives. Now, the moment you realize only thought causes feeling, your nafs doesn't have a leg to stand on anymore. It actually disappears. It doesn't influence you in that area anymore. Now, can you imagine for a moment what it's like living a life like this? You probably can, because you probably have been doing it your whole life, and it's probably been really, really hard work. You probably tried to find a relationship in the hope that a relationship would make you happy. You probably tried to get a good job in the hope that a good job would make you feel financially secure. And if you take away the word financially, you got a job so you could feel secure. You probably do things for your family because you think that will make you feel good. You probably have people in your family who you think upset you. You probably have all of these situations that it looks like are causing your feelings. And I'm telling you that is not true, that is the truth, that is your nafs, that is the truth of how it works. And because that's the truth, it's going to make your life a lot easier. Because if you believe in this, it's a fantasy. I'm telling you, it's not true. It's a fantasy, but that doesn't mean you don't believe in it. Sometimes you believe in fantasies, right? Remember, there was a time when every human being on earth believed the sun went around the earth. They believed in a fantasy. And right now, most of humanity believes in this fantasy. It doesn't work like this, but we believe it does. Why is this so important? Because if you believe it works this way, your life is so hard. You have to fix all of these things just so that you can feel okay. You know how crazy that is? You know how hard that is? And you know, it's kind of like this. It's kind of like this old Sufi story. Imagine you are, I want you to imagine you're living in a town on a mountain, on a hill. You're living in a town on a hill, and everyone in the town is really concerned and upset and scared because there's this dragon that has been going kind of like in Game of Thrones, where there's those big dragons. So there's these big dragons that have been going to all the nearby towns, burning them to the ground. And now your whole town is really concerned because there's this big dragon, and it's going to come any day now, and it's going to try and burn your whole village to the ground. So the whole village gets together. We're like, okay, look, there's this big dragon that's coming. So here's what we're going to do. Everybody has a role to play. We're going to work together, and we are going to build a big wall around our village so that when the dragon comes and tries to burn it down, the wall will protect us. So you're like, okay, I'll do this. I'm going to play my part. So each day your job, so, you know, everybody in the village has different jobs, and your job, because you're quite strong and formidable, so your job is to go to the quarry, pick up big rocks, stick them in a wheelbarrow, and then push the wheelbarrow up the hill to the top of the hill so that you can build a wall at the top of the hill around the whole village. Okay? So that's your job. So each day you go down to the quarry, lift these big rocks, put them in the wheelbarrow, stick the wheelbarrow, and then you start lifting the wheelbarrow all the way up the hill. It's really hard, and you're trying, and it's really hard, and you're doing it every day, and you're doing it every day. One day you do it, it's really hard work, and then you eat and you sleep, and you're like, oh man, life's so hard, but okay, we get together, we can solve this. Next day you do it, you're pushing it, you know, and you're doing this for days. You're doing it for weeks. You're doing it for months. You're trying so hard to build this wall to protect yourself from this dragon. Then one day, a messenger from a nearby town comes. And he says, I've got some really good news for you. And everybody's like, what is it? And he says, it turns out dragons don't really exist. Turns out dragons never really existed. It was just stories people were telling us. It turns out dragons never really existed. It turns out all of that work you were doing to try and protect yourself from the dragon was actually kind of unnecessary. And all of a sudden you're like, my gosh, that is such a relief. Such a relief. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم. I come bearing good news. I do. I come bearing good news. And the good news is that this is the way life works. And this is the fantasy. The fantasy is that dragons exist. And I'm here to tell you dragons don't exist. Your circumstances can't cause your feelings. Your past can't cause your feelings. The only thing that has ever caused a feeling is thought. Anything other than thought, this is where your nafs takes over. Okay. May the peace, love, and blessings of Allah be with you. Until tomorrow, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.